Bradley Locker just confirmed what many in the DMV don't want to hear. Washington's wide receiver room is one of the most alarming in the entire NFL, and there is an elite receiver available in free agency with 85 receptions, 1,013 yards, and a PFF receiving grade of 82.6 in 2025. Who could be the ultimate weapon for Jaden Daniels? But this man carries a pattern across 3 consecutive teams that nobody in Ashburn can afford to ignore. 3 franchises, 3 exits, and it was never about production. While that decision gets processed in Ashburn, Bleacher Report just dropped something that makes every Commander fan uncomfortable. Terry McLaurin tops the list of the most overpaid players relative to production in the entire league. Number 1, $97 million, and the numbers say what they say. And by the time you reach the end of this video, you will understand exactly why all of this is connected, because the best receiver Washington had in 2025, Deebo Samuel, already has a confirmed destination, and the reason he is leaving completely changes how you have to read every single move Adam Peters makes this summer. Hit that like button right now and subscribe. If you trust the Adam Peters process, the real Commander Nation does not click away here. PFF's Bradley Locker published his breakdown, and he was straight to the point. He said Washington's receiving core was, in his words, one of the most alarming groups in the entire NFL heading into the draft, and that even after selecting Antonio Williams out of Clemson in the 3rd round, the Commanders need another reliable weapon for Jaden Daniels, and that's where Diggs enters the picture, and the numbers Diggs put up in 2025 are real. 85 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns with New England, 10th among all qualified receivers in PFF receiving grade at 82.6, 2.08 yards per route run. A drop rate of just 2.9%. Those are elite receiver numbers, not the numbers of a player in decline. These are the numbers of someone who could still play football at the highest level in this league. And the logic for why he fits Washington is genuinely real. Terry McLaurin needs someone who takes pressure off the top of the coverage. Luke McCaffrey had under 500 snaps last season. Antonio Williams is a 3rd-round rookie who needs time to develop. Nobody else at this level of proven production is available in free agency right now. And Jaden Daniels, at 24 years old, working under a brand new offensive system with David Blau, needs weapons who know how to create separation, how to generate leverage inside the hashes, how to read coverages in real time. Diggs knows how to do exactly that. That part is not debatable. But here is where I have to take a strong stance, and I want to know if y'all agree with me. Because Stefon Diggs is 32 years old, and he turns 33 in November. And at every single stop over the last 4 years, something broke down that had nothing to do with his on-field performance. In Buffalo, his relationship with Josh Allen deteriorated so deeply that the organization had to move him out, and it was not about production. Diggs was one of the best receivers in the NFL during that stretch. It was something in the locker room, in the team dynamic, in the way that player processes not having the ball as often as he believes he should. In Houston, similar energy unfolded. 1 year and gone. In New England, they cut him after a season where he was statistically their most dangerous weapon, and the real reasons why were never fully explained publicly. Fam, when that happens to a player at 3 consecutive stops, that is not bad luck. That is a pattern. And I am not going to sit here and tell you that pattern disappears just because the city on the helmet now says Washington. Now, there is an optimistic version of this story that deserves to be heard too. And it goes like this. In Washington, Diggs does not arrive as the star who needs the ball 25 times a game. He arrives as the number 2 receiver behind McLaurin. He arrives on a team that is building its identity around a young quarterback where ego can calibrate differently. If Diggs genuinely accepts that role, if he comes in with a contributor mentality instead of a focal point mentality, then he can be exactly what Jaden Daniels needs, lining up across from Scary Terry. But that is a very large if, and I am asking this audience directly right now, do you trust that Stefon Diggs can walk into a locker room with a 24-year-old quarterback who is still finding his identity in this league and be a genuinely positive influence? Or do you look at the pattern of the last 4 years and say that risk is simply not worth taking because there is another option on the table? Beat reporters covering Washington have been reporting real smoke around a potential trade for Brandon Ayuk out of San Francisco. Ayuk is 27 years old, 5 full years younger than Diggs. He is in his absolute athletic prime. He does not carry the same locker room baggage, and while a trade would cost draft capital, the long-term investment is infinitely more stable. The real question is whether Adam Peters can make that trade work financially and in terms of picks, or whether Diggs ends up being the easier and cheaper path of least resistance. And if that's where it lands, are you okay with that? Let me know in the comments right now, Diggs, yes or no? And if no, are you holding out for Ayuk? Because this fan base needs to talk about it. And speaking of this receiver crisis, because you cannot talk about why Washington needs Diggs without talking about how this situation got so dire in the first place, Bleacher Report published something this week that was genuinely uncomfortable to read, but that we have to address head on. Brad Gagnon put Terry McLaurin at number 1 on his list of the most overpaid players relative to production in the entire NFL. The 7th highest paid wide receiver in the league, $97 million over 3 years, and the numbers across his career say he has never hit 1,200 receiving yards in a single season. He has only scored 8 or more touchdowns one time in his career. He has never caught 90 or more passes in a season, and he had the worst statistical year of his career in 2025. The exact same year that contract kicked in. Now, context matters here, and I'm not going to ignore it. McLaurin had that catastrophic year inside a 5-win, 12-loss team where virtually nothing worked on either side of the ball. Putting all of that on McLaurin individually is an oversimplification. But we also cannot pretend the holdout through the offseason and training camp in 2025 did not create real tension, and that when he finally showed up, the results did not justify the investment made. He turns 31 in September. And the question Gagnon throws into the air, and the question I'm now throwing at all of you, is this. Is McLaurin a good but not elite receiver that Washington overpaid for, or was he simply a victim of a collectively disastrous season that does not actually reflect his real ceiling? Drop your honest take in the comments. I want to see both sides of that debate go at it. And to close out the full receiver picture, Deebo Samuel is not looking for a room back in Ashburn. PFF flagged him as the ideal fit for the Minnesota Vikings, where he would line up alongside Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Kyler Murray, the man who was literally Washington's best offensive weapon in 2025. 802 total yards and 6 touchdowns, came here for a 5th-round pick, and is leaving without anyone in Ashburn able to bring him back. And you know what hurts the most about that? The reason he is leaving is not money. It is not preference. It is because after a 5-win, 12-loss season, Deebo Samuel wants to be somewhere that can actually compete for a championship, and you genuinely cannot blame him for that. He cashed in his $17 million, gave everything he had in a disaster of a season, and now he is looking for his next chapter. What that story leaves us with is simple, and it is brutal. The best receiver Washington had in 2025 was a 30-year-old on a 1-year deal who always knew he was leaving. That is not building a receiving core, that is surviving another year. And in 2026, that bill is coming due, which is exactly why Diggs or Ayuk or someone significant has to arrive in Ashburn very soon. Raise hail and drop it right in the comments. Diggs, yes or no? And if no, are you waiting on Ayuk? Let's hear it. The offensive picture for Washington in 2026 is real, and it is urgent. Jaden Daniels deserves weapons, and if Adam Peters does not find the right solution in the next few weeks, we are walking into this season with one of the worst receiving groups in the entire NFL. Hit that like button if you think Diggs is the answer. Drop a comment if you'd rather wait on Ayuk, and subscribe because we are covering every single move this team makes in real time. Raise hail, DMV. Let's go.